I'm Mike, and I want to help you share your stories with the world. Now, I know a few people that are master storytellers, and today you're going to meet one of my favorites.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
His name is Jeremy Snead, and he's the mastermind behind Media Juice Studios here in North Texas. We connected at a local film festival where he premiered his new movie, Matter of Time. Now, I asked him if we could sit down and discuss storytelling and filmmaking, and he was happy to oblige.
We're rolling. Can you tap record on that one?
Oh, I will.
If you don't mind. Thank you.
Got that? Official clapper?
Pro. How do you describe yourself to people when people say, hey, what do you do, Jeremy? What do you say?
You know, for years, I used to stumble over that question. I'd say, well, I own a production studio, but we're an agency. But we do promos for video game companies, but I'm also like, I do documentaries, and like I would just give this convoluted answer. And it occurred to me one time we were working on our website, and so I was like, okay, pull up Media Juice, and then like my name came up,
Yeah.
and I clicked on it, and it was like, according to Google, Jeremy Snead is an American film director. So that's when people ask me now, I just say I'm a film director.
What you do is more than that, though. I mean, you tell like important stories that matter. And so like when you're looking for a story to tell, like what aspects of that are important to you? What stories do you like to share?
Yeah. You know, the word angle is always, and this is related to my documentary work, it always annoys me a little bit because anytime I'm talking to potential investors or producers or even friends, or everybody's kind of an armchair expert. So it's like, you know, I'm talking about, say, for example, my Nintendo docuseries. I'm like, yeah, I'm working on a docuseries about the history of Nintendo. And inevitably, everybody's first or second question is, oh, yeah, what's the angle? And I'm like, the history of Nintendo? So, you know, listen, I love all kinds of documentaries and got docs that have angles and then have surprise twists. But for me, my heart is to celebrate. Mm-hmm. And so I love to celebrate things that I love. And you see that in my documentary work. And I think in my first feature, Matter of Time, similar. I'm celebrating all the things I love. Yeah. But also something that is meaningful to me is life lessons and things that, you know, the theme of the film, which is self versus tribe, is very much a learned lesson for me. And there's a lot of value in that for me, and I want to try to pass that on to other people.
Yeah, and I can tell you that came through in the film. It was really cool because there's a little bit of like I connected with that story, obviously, from a gaming standpoint, friends, community, and just kind of, I could see how personal that was to you, and we talked about it a little bit day of, so it was kind of cool to actually hear you say that, but watching the movie, you could see the things where you're basically writing like a love letter to your friends. And I wouldn't say it's an apology, but it's basically, hey, I see you, I see me for who I am, let's continue to grow together.
Yep.
And that was a really sweet moment. And I can't believe that was your first feature film.
Yeah.
You've been making documentaries, docuseries, you've been making so many things for so long. Are you going to keep making full features like that? Or are you going to go back to documentary?
The short answer is both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're working on multiple docu projects right now. Some are gaming, which I'll always do, and some are non. But definitely want to continue the narrative journey for sure. That's the culmination. It's like you've heard the old cliche, I'm a 20-year overnight success.
Wow, yeah.
And that's just everybody. Anybody that you see that's on the mountaintop, it's like, well, there's a big mountain below that.
Yeah.
Of how they got there and how long and the tools and the highs and the lows. I always like to say it's, you know, friends that I've known for years that maybe I haven't seen for a long time, they'll see me and say, man, I've been following you on social or Media Juice. What you're doing is amazing. And I agree, like, yeah, thank you so much. But that's Instagram. And there's a life behind that of highs and lows. And we all suffer, we all cry, we all have pain, we all have, you know. And so it's like, I'm no exception to that.
Of course. And I fall into a similar category because a lot of my life is out there. But it is funny kind of what we post and share and the way people take that and just think that everything is just all perfect and wonderful.
Yeah.
And we have to be real careful about that too.
Yeah.
Everyone's expecting to see that. No one really posts the real nitty gritty, hard days. I've tried to make videos like that before, where I talk about my hardest days, and I've filmed those. They're 7 minutes long, and they're in the can, and I did not upload it because that was therapy for me.
Right.
And it's really
Right.
interesting because it's like, I feel like other people need to see this,
Yeah.
but I can't share it.
Well, it's interesting. I heard a pastor once talking about all the books that he writes and releases, and the ones that are most popular are the ones that are on, 10 steps to achieve more joy, or ways to, to be more positive. And the few that he's posted or that he's released that are about hard things don't sell as well. And I don't think it's because people aren't aware of it. I think it's that everybody has enough of that in their own life. So then when they go to consume something, you want to be uplifted. You want to be encouraged. You want to be...
And I guess it's just human nature, I guess. We'll always be that way.
Yeah.
But I do want to touch on something you said. So like, what helps you be that filmmaker that finishes projects? Because what is that attribute in you that does that? Because there's so many people that are like, I'm a filmmaker, and they get halfway through 50 things and they never finish anything. So what is it in Jeremy that makes you push that across the finish line? Because I think that's the hardest thing for most people to understand.
That's a great question, because that's it, right? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, but it also ends with the 1,000th step. Like, if you don't complete the journey, the shortest answer to that question is my parents.
Okay.
Both my mom and dad instilled deep work ethic in me, and that was currency for me growing up. If you're a hard worker and you finish what you're doing, then it's like you're praised, and it's like good job.
Yeah.
If you're not, then it's like, what, you failed, or what's wrong, whether that's cleaning out the flower bed or mowing the lawn or whatever. But I think it's the nature versus nurture thing too. I think that's just, I've always been a very driven, ambitious person, and I think the first few years of like being an aspiring filmmaker, I saw a lot of that, a lot of people talking about things and had a plate full of ideas and unfinished scripts, and I kind of had like this revelation of like, oh man, I don't want to be that, and I won't be that. And so, going back to my first documentary, Video Games the Movie, it was like I was on the track to not be able to finish it because I didn't have the money.
Oh, okay.
But thankfully, it was Kickstarter. I was like, necessity's the mother of invention, and Gamer Nation came to our aid and helped us, and we raised like $100,000 and some $1,000, and that's where I met Sean Astin. Cool. And that, I think that's part of our friendship is what you just touched on, is that we've done 4 or 5 different docu projects together now. Some that he's produced, some that he's narrated, some that he's on screen. And I think he's seen that, like, oh, Jeremy finishes.
Yeah.
So, okay, if Jeremy's telling me about a script or a project, this isn't just vaporware.
Yeah, and it's funny because being in like the entertainment industry and world, and even like me as a small content person, it is the same. I'm surrounded by so many people. They're like, I want to make videos, and it's like, make them. And then they never make them. And it's like, it's hard. But I think you hit on something really good there, because people need to understand you can outwork the smartest person that doesn't have the same work ethic. And anybody can outwork anybody.
Yep. 100%.
You just have to have determination and push it across the finish line.
Yep. And what we're talking about is kind of core to being a creative, being a filmmaker, being an artist, whatever you want to label it as. But I think you do get to a point where you need to enjoy the work for the task itself, not for the result, because that's what you're spending your life. You look up after you've been doing it for 5 years, 10 years, in my case, 23 years, and it's like, well, this is what I'm doing with my life. Yeah. And then you've got this small little vertical slice of like a film premiere, or it goes on Netflix or whatever, and it's like, that's great, but 95% before that and after it will just be your day-to-day, who you're doing it with and what you're doing. And if you're not enjoying that, you're missing it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And you've chosen projects you're passionate about, because what the typical like Hollywood film model is like 2 for them, 1 for me, or whatever, or however that flow works.
Yeah, used to be.
It used to be. So it's really interesting to see a lot of that starting to move to Texas with the bill that just passed.
Yeah.
And with AI, there's a lot going on. I was going to ask you a question about like AI and filmmaking. How do you see artificial intelligence impacting the filmmaking industry from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it already is. Again, to quote King Solomon, which I think I did in our red carpet interview, there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
AI is definitely new and novel. You're unwise to not, like, I don't want to say jump on that bandwagon, but at least be educated.
Yeah.
There's a lot of amazing tools in Premiere and After Effects and all, you know, they're plugging in everywhere. But I do think it's the danger is sort of the snake eating its tail.
Yeah.
So it goes back to the point I just made, which is doing the task for the joy itself. And you rob yourself of writing a great script or figuring out your own shots or storyboards by just outsourcing that to AI, because we all know this as creatives. There's happy accidents that come along the way of like that you would have never experienced had you just have AI edit this thing. Because I've edited, I've shot, documentaries, commercials, all of it, and you know, good creative, good filmmaking is never a straight line.
Good point.
And I think with AI, when you try to make it a straight line and get to the result, you rob yourself of the journey, you rob yourself of the happy accidents, and the result will be different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that. It's like from the content world, Google's like VO3 now, basically, I don't even need to be in the video. I can type in a prompt and say, Mike at Disney World. And they create a video of me vlogging, walking through Disney World. And it's getting a lot better, but there's still something about it that has no soul. There's something missing.
Oh, yeah.
And I think to your point, right, at the heart, it's me, yeah. But and the mistakes, and like I leave in a lot of my uhs and ums and like the mistakes intentionally. I run the camera long, leave some of those shots in there just for the awkward like tail end of the moments.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine a world where it's like you kind of lose all that magic when the walls come down. Because like, you know, when the camera turns on, people are like, ha!
Right.
And then it goes off and they're like, that was really cool.
Right.
And you get a genuine, and it's a whole different vibe. So it's like with AI, it's just a puppet doing a thing.
Well, it's also there was a conversation for the longest time about film versus digital. And, you know, it's not just the technology we're losing the craft of filmmaking.
Yeah.
And it's very true, because when we learn how to, I wanted to shoot on film. I got really close to shooting on film. In the mid-aughts. I had a project that almost, you know, happened. And you have to learn the discipline of filmmaking, because there's literally money going through the camera. And so you have to learn shot selection and setup. You can't just roll the camera, because digital is, you know, unlimited. And I think it's a similar principle with AI, in that whatever the discipline is, writing, editing, shooting, there's a craft that comes out of that repetition, the Malcolm Gladwell thing, 5,000 hours. And I think for me, I'm definitely not poo-pooing AI. It definitely has its place as a supplement, as a way to kind of make things more convenient. But I think putting it in the driver's seat is the danger, because we're literally going to lose our humanity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've seen it on my side with like vlogs, blogs, reviews. You can tell when a human wrote it, or a human used AI as an assistant to set up their content, which I think is a great way to use it. I think we use AI to take out our trash. It's there to assist and make life easier and carry some of the load, but not do all of it.
Yeah, we're definitely in like
it's a weird liminal space in
gray,
between.
Yeah.
Because like when I see an M dash in anything written, I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah, you actually start looking for typos to see if it's human.
And I leave them in there now on purpose. Because like I use Grammarly. Full disclosure, Grammarly helps me spell. I'm dyslexic, I can't spell at all.
Yeah.
So if I ever write you anything, it's misspelled and I know it and I'm sorry. If that bothers you, my wife is an editor. She's like, hey, you misspelled that. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But like in some of the stuff I send out, now I have a tendency to leave those misspellings and those mistakes in there just to be like, proof, like human.
Yeah, it's like the modern equivalent of film grain.
Yes.
It's like, oh, that's shot on film. Yeah.
So as far as like any young filmmakers coming up in this world, like what advice do you have for them? How do they start telling stories?
Great question. And I think there's so many. We live in the information age, and so how to write a script or how to cinematography 101. And I'm speaking to filmmaking. It's all out there for the taking. And for me, it was like I read books and I had DVDs from.
Yeah.
Remember, it was called F-Stop Academy. I got this box of DVDs of how
that
to
sounds
shoot.
Familiar.
Yeah, Den Lenny. But now it's everything is out there, and I would say resist AI initially. Like do it the long way, even if it takes fumbling around, whether that's editing or writing, and learn the principles. Save the Cat is a great book on screenwriting. Timeless. A lot of fun because it uses examples of movies that you can go watch and look at the beats. And then for shooting, the sky's the limit. It's like YouTube.
We have the tools.
Yeah, the tools are there.
The tools are no longer a barrier to entry. What advice would you give you as a young filmmaker when you started out?
Trust the process,
Okay.
because I think I probably would have had a lot less anxiety if I knew just follow these steps and don't quit.
Yeah.
And I that was something that I, as we already talked about, kind of learned early on. Like, okay, whatever I'm doing, just finish. Even if it's not good. My early short films are terrible. You cannot find them anywhere. And that's very on purpose. But working the muscles what matters. And then you get to a point where you're like, oh, okay, I've made these 5 mistakes over and over, so let me stop making this one and this one. And then before you know it, you're making less mistakes.
Cool. Well, that's it as far as questions. I try to give you as much time. You have 2 minutes. So.
Cool. You want to do a quick tour?
So Jeremy had a meeting in 2 minutes, and he was nice enough to give us a quick tour of the studio.
This is the same desk that I had in October of 2004 is when I started Media Juice, and this was the desk. Obviously, newer monitors. I always like to have some kind of old school VHS going. Today is looks like
Adventures in Babysitting.
Adventures in Babysitting. That's good. Good call.
Collection.
Whiteboards. Lots of whiteboards at Media Juice. You're going to see these everywhere. I like IRL. In person.
That's right.
All my various Comic-Cons and conventions over 24 years. This is Sean's office here. Capture station, so we do a lot of video game commercials, trailers. This is one of 2 capture stations that's manned by Stormy here.
I like the name.
This is Sir Evan.
Hi, Evan.
Doing editing. Making magic. Patrick's in here. Got a call?
He's working hard.
Open lobby area here. Another little cubicle for interns. Kitchen. That's where the magic happens. Lots of caffeine.
So we have protein. What is this right here? We got protein.
Kenny's protein shake.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Espresso. Arcades, gotta have them. Our equipment room is a little bit in shambles right now because we just got back from a shoot, so there's just stuff everywhere. Also record our the Juice episodes here.
Yeah, I walked through here and I was geeking out over the gear.
Hallway, original.
Those are original?
Original Star Wars posters.
I
Yeah.
was curious about that.
Conference room, meet here in the mornings, go over the production schedule. We brought Han in cold there.
More whiteboards.
More whiteboards. Sean sent me that.
Nice.
This is Brennan.
Working hard.
More game capture server. It's kind of loud. This is Kenny. Say hi to Kenny.
What's up, brother?
See you on this call. Pinky.